Hello, my name is Andre Fields. I'm a counselor here at GRCC. Um, my research kind of centers around the impacts of American racism on the psychological functioning of society. So I think that's why I got invited.
That's precisely why.
As long as it's not to analyze me.
Well, my initial response was, it to me was just a reflection of a superiority complex. A lot of Americans function with that a superiority complex, meaning people like us or people with our skin color are better than people with your skin color. And so I thought, from my observations and research, that's not shocking. But I guess my initial response right after that was, okay, what do they do? They don't have much power socially or politically, so how can they fight the system? And so it immediately took me back to the civil rights movement, and it was like, if I were a Native American, and the way I would attack that system would be through boycott. And so I think at some point they need to get into the minds of the people in Washington, which side note, I was like, wow, the capital of America has a football team with a racial slur on the helmet. To me, that's very symbolic. And so to think that you have a right to take the totality of a group of people and put it on the side of a football helmet, again, just a manifestation of superiority. And so I also was thinking, like, what other race in America, because we have literally every race in America situated here, what other race of people are used as a mascot? And I can't think of any. So that in and of itself shows that inherently people understand that you don't put groups of people or use them as mascots, but yet we're doing it here. So I think it's going to be important that you guys galvanize your voice, the Native Americans that are fighting against this. You have to galvanize your voice, become more charged politically, and just continue to motivate not only your own people, but also other races who are ignorant of. I just talked to a lady today. I was letting her know I was coming to do this panel, and I told her what the panel was about, and she was like, she never thought of that. And it was ironic she brought up Florida State because she lived in Florida. So she brought up like, oh, I never even thought about that. So I think you got to keep it at the forefront of America's conscience until finally people wake up and get it.
Comment? Dr. Fields?
Okay, I'll say something.
All right.
Well, I think you were speaking more on like the psychological impact of that symbolism on children. Yeah, to me, it just communicates inferiority. It communicates that my culture, my tradition, my values, and my norms are to be used as entertainment. And so symbolically, I could never say exactly how a child internalizes that, but I think it was kind of reflecting. I don't know if that was fake news, but they said 9 out of 10 Native Americans say that if they weren't bothered by it. To me, that sounds like internalized racism. That's kind of like, to kind of echo what you were saying, it's almost like when you were saying we had to take our country back, what I was hearing was psychologically, we need to realize this is our country. We deserve to be here. You're not doing us a favor. We shouldn't have to beg, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's psychologically, I think, obviously, if you're not offended, again, there's no other race in America who's on the side of a football helmet. If that doesn't offend you, that my race is the only race on the side of a football helmet, you've internalized some level of inferiority. And so, again, this is where the older, Nate, I was about to say old heads, but that's a black term. This is where you recondition the youth, and you let them know that is not appropriate. You let them know that there's a systematic inferiorizing of your people, and so you need to stand up against it in whatever way possible. But you don't want that generation to go ahead and accept that, and 10 years, 20 years later, they're doing another poll, and 9 out of 10 haven't rose up against it. I think, so I guess a person's level of mistreatment will only go as far as you let it. And so I think historically, black Americans, we just haven't put up with it. And so I think the reason why they're treated so much different is because of the reaction that it brings out of us. So for instance, the stadium where they play football, that would have been burnt down because we would have responded and said it's not gonna go down like this, and we would have kept responding until change was made. So until, again, Native Americans bring their voices together and say, no more. it won't they won't be treated equally. And so I think it's just you have to intensify your responses, but you guys also got to just agree. Like the 9 out of 10 that say it doesn't matter, you guys need to indoctrinate them to let them know that that's not cool and we need to stick together and we need to say something until change comes. So it needs to be that when you hear the R word, it's just as, it draws the same social reaction as the N word. So until that happens, they won't be treated the same.